Okay, we're just going to look at vectors and what a vector is and a few other things with vectors. So if we look at this vector here, this is the vector v, which is the vector 5, 4. And this is the vector u, which is 6, 5. So we can move around these points. I thought, oh, maybe instead of 6, 5, if it was 12, 4, there's vector v, which is 12, 4 now. Now, so that's all a vector is. It has a length or a magnitude and some direction. So this vector is obviously different to another vector. So these two vectors are different, but if I was to make them like this, now these two vectors are the same vector, just at different starting points, but they are the same vector. Okay, so how do we add vectors? In this case, just to do a geometrical process of how we add vectors, and I'll just change them so they're different vectors. How do I do this? I'm going to start this. If we were to add these two vectors, now it doesn't matter what these two vectors are. So now this is basically what Alan was calling, or what most people call the tip to tail or the head to tail method. Here's vector 1, here's vector 2. If we were to add these vectors, the resultant vector is that vector there. That's u plus v. If we were to change these two vectors, maybe make this one a minus. If we were to add these two vectors, so there's vector u plus vector v, the resultant vector is this vector here, which would have a value, maybe you could consider it as 2, 4, 6, 8 minus 2. So the resultant vector would be 8 minus 2. How do we get 8 minus 2? Well, it's 5 plus 3 gives us the 8. 4 plus minus 6 gives us the minus 2. Again, if we were to change these vectors a bit, just by changing these vectors, we'll take that first one down to there. So if we were adding these two vectors now, we've got 5 and 3, so that would be 8. Minus 4 plus 10 would be 6. So if we were to add to those two vectors, it would be this vector here, the first vector plus the second vector, and that's how we add them. And it would be 2, 4, 6, 8, 2, 4, 6. So the resultant vector would be 8, 6. How do we get 8, 6? Well, you've got 5 plus 3 is 8, minus 4 plus 10 is plus 6, so 8 plus 6. If we were looking at vector subtraction, if this is our u and this is our v, so if we were to add them, u plus v, what we could say is this is going to be u plus v is somewhere out here. So that would be the resultant vector, u plus v. If we were to minus them, and they will be different, if it was going to be u minus v, well, this is plus v, so minus v is going to be down here somewhere. And then if we were to move that across to do, again, the tip to tail method, head to tail method, minus v would be down here. So if we look at that and how it works, there's minus v. It's the same magnitude, but just in the opposite direction. And then we're going to slide it up. So again, this is our u minus v, and the resultant vector is that vector there. If we were to do it the other way, v minus u, so it's going to be plus v minus u. So minus u, instead of going this way, is going to go the other way. So v minus u is going to be out here somewhere. So I would say it's going to be about here. Let's look at what happens. Here's minus u. Again, it's the same magnitude as u, but in the opposite direction. And then we're going to slide it up. So there is v minus u. And if we look at the resultant vector, that's the resultant vector there. So that's just a little bit of a visual on how we add and subtract vectors.